Bleach is back. And where there's Bleach, where there is Kubo, where there is Ichigo, there is one man who is always going to be there as well. Room Shambles. That's our boy right there. That is the man whom, when we saw him sitting on his beloved chair, it decimated Bleach Twitter. It decimated Bleach YouTube. Why? Because we love this man. That is our boy, Sosuke Aizen. And so any mention of Aizen, especially for me, and I'm losing my mind, that's Mr. Slickback, all according to Keikaku, Chair-sama Aizen. And I thank God that he is in Jump Force, and I'm able to utilize him to his very best end of series Aizen, because, you know, and it's so hard for me to pull any characters in Brave Souls. Hey, I got him in Brave Souls 2. I got him in Brave Souls 2, thankfully. But it's just Aizen, man. Always, no matter where he is, no matter what arc it is, the most interesting part of this series. At least for me. It's the way it's always been. And always just so curious on what exactly he's going to be doing. But in this week's chapter of Bleach, I can't believe I'm saying that. In the latest chapter of Bleach, not chapter 686. No. We're talking about the one-shot. Our interlude chapter to what is about to be a phenomenal arc in the Bleach greatness. That's what I'm referring to. Where Xylopero, one of Aizen's soldiers, came in, number 8, came in and stated, with his whole chest, that one of the or both of the powerful spiritual pressures, the Reiatsu, that were holding down the mouths of Jigoku, that were holding down the mouth of an entire section of the Bleach verse, a section of the verse that I am going to assume, based on what I saw this week, is extremely powerful, a section of the verse that is nothing to be messed with. Xylopero stated with his whole chest that this man Aizen was one of the individuals responsible for keeping this mouth closed. Him and Juha, which is very fascinating when you really think about it. Because it makes you think about Juha and what could potentially be there as well. Because we know the remnants of Juha have to remain within Ichigo. I mean, for the love of God, he's Zangetsu. So if we're going to see Juha again, it's going to be within Ichigo. But I guess that's a conversation for another day. In Aizen's case, though, he's disappeared. He's gone. Now, there's different interpretations that you can take from Aizen having disappeared. Obviously, because of Kyokasuigetsu, you really can't tell. The only individual that can really let me know where Aizen is Ichigo. Because Ichigo is not really, hasn't really been affected by the likes of Kyokasuigetsu. So, with that being said, it could very well be a thing to where they think he's disappeared, because with Kyokasuigetsu, he's using it to where he can just roam free. After a certain point, he finally got out of Central 46. Hey, but I'll tell you what, even if Aizen is roaming around free, there's no question in my mind he's sitting on some sort of chair. I don't know if it's the same chair, a chair in the world of living, a chair in Hokumundo, a chair in the... Can you imagine him in the Soul King's palace, chilling on the throne? He's like, yeah, and no one can see it. Why? Because of Kyokasuigetsu. But regardless. That's what makes Aizen so interesting. You really don't know. It depends on walking genjutsu. So, with Aizen potentially being free now, and walking around, having disappeared, no longer using his Reiatsu, no longer using his spiritual pressure to keep this mouth in check, what is he transferring that energy into now? Like, where... That means that Aizen is currently occupied with doing something else. Now, what is that something else? The interesting thing about Aizen has always been is that he's always like 3 steps ahead of the game, and the only other individual who's there with him is Kisuke. We have not seen Kisuke in quite some time. So I do wonder if Aizen is already working towards, or already knew, because of the imbalance in the world, and because of what happened with Juha, and now his disappearance, that something was about to take place here which are the events of this final arc, which is probably why he decided to get a move on and get a head start on what to do here in the near future. Now, I am not entirely sure what his role is going to be. I joked around in the reaction, talking about him finding Kazuya and be like, oh, Ichigo's kid. Let me tell you something, son. I made your father, which means that I planned all of this to ensure that you were born someday. I captured Orihime Inoue and Hueco to bring their relationship closer because one day you would be born, my precious Kazuya. You can see it. I'm not the only one who can see that. I hope everybody else can see it too. You feel me? That's Aizen. That's Aizen in a nutshell. But it had to have his brand new test subject being Kazui Kurosaki. But besides that, I'm genuinely curious in what he's planning on doing. Aizen has a certain amount of pride, as we saw in the last arc with him telling Juha, "This is my soul society," one of the most hype and amazing scenes in the entire series. And I mean that wholeheartedly. That's like a top 3 most hype scene in all of Bleach, is when he tells Juha, "This is my soul society." But Aizen's conversation, or his monologue at the end of the series, I guess it was sort of like a response to what Juha said, because Juha spoke to Ichigo in the flashback while he was disappearing, that he was telling about fear and what fear would do. Like, let me pull up the actual, so that I don't speak any type of nonsense here. So he says, "The path has been sealed, Ichigo." This is Juha speaking. "The path has been sealed, Ichigo. The path to a world without fear. The living world, the soul society, Hueco, they all should have become one. Life and death were meant to be combined as one. But that can no longer be, thanks to you, Ichigo. How disappointing. Because of you, life and death will retain their shapes. All that has life will continue to live in constant fear of death now, forever." And now, in direct response to that, we have Aizen speaking this. And this is a very beautiful, very beautiful monologue, especially coming from Aizen, just showcasing that what he has learned from humanity has affected the way that he thinks. And we know that Aizen is the type of individual that goes on a lot of these experiments, does a lot of these things to learn more. He never gets tired of learning. He's one of those types of individuals, which is why he's always succeeding. But he says, "Juha, fears would not have existed in the world you wished for. But in a world without the fear of death, people will not search for hope. People will persist simply by being alive. But persistence while fending off fear is something entirely different. That is why people have a special name for it. They call it courage." And so with that being said, and Aizen now speaking on behalf of humanity and about persistence while fending off fear, and we know that one of the biggest fears in both within the Bleach universe, within our world in real life, is the fear of going down to hell. You know, that is a massive and major fear, and something that makes people change the way that they live, makes people attempt to do better, and so that they don't end up going to such a place, right? So with this place of fear being in place, and with the idea of this brand new arc having fear as being a part of it, and the fear of death specifically, because if you die in your captain class, you could potentially go down here, right? So this is something that is huge to the overall Bleach story, to the concept of fear. So now I wonder if Kubo is going to use that monologue by Aizen to propel his character arc into its next phase. And not only just his character arc, where his story goes from here on forward, because of how Aizen, we now see the way that he looks at humans, and maybe he wants to do something about it. Because Aizen will always be the type of individual that never follows anyone else's agenda but his own. But he has his own pride as well, and he has his own line of thinking. So Aizen's gonna do what's best for Aizen, but also at this point in the game is what's best for the future that he envisions, right? So Aizen at this point, with what he said about fear, and about the fear of death, and about hope, I do wonder if he's going to, if the movements that he's going to be moving towards, let's just say, for example, he goes out and rallies his espada once more. This is just a hypothetical statement. Let's just say he goes back to Hueco, presents himself before Hollybell, Nell, Grimjow, and just talks to him, has a conversation with him. Of course, they'd probably want to throw hands with him the moment they saw him, just because he's Aizen, but Aizen would be like, yo, relax. Let's take it easy. One of my closest friends, my two closest subordinates, are individuals that I'm going to have to fight. He's going to have to fight Gin, and he's going to have to fight Kaname. Or at the very least, they're going to be opponents to him. They're going to oppose the way that he currently is right now. And Aizen, of course, was the type of individual to throw away everything in the past. But I do wonder how he would feel about such a thing now, especially for Gin's betrayal. Right? I do wonder how that conversation would go between the two. So with him knowing that, with him knowing the strength of the Espada and the strength of the captains, because he knows the strength of both, man. He created the Espada, and the captains were the individuals that he created the Espada to go up against. So no one knows the strength of the individuals down there better than Aizen. And if they are on levels way farther and way beyond anyone's expectations, then of course Aizen's roaming free, because he's trying to build either an army or some sort of brand new whatever the new Hogyoku is, or whatever this new goal of Aizen's is, has to be to retaliate against the incoming threat. Because if we are going against the former Espada, even stronger than they were before, captains like Yamamoto Genryusai, Unohana, and Ukitake, let alone if they bring back some of the Gote, right? The old Gote, the original 13 assassins. And we have these legends coming back to fight against them. No one knows their strength better than Aizen. So of course he's going to be out here moving around and trying to put the pieces together in the way that only Aizen can. He's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Besides Kisuke. Kisuke's always playing chess. But it's like at the end of the day, Aizen's disappearance has to be connected to him moving towards the goal of either retaliation or attempting to close whatever threat this is about to be. Because you know that Aizen does things that only Aizen can do. And so I do wonder if he's going to end up reaching out to Ichigo, like on a serious note. Once, let's just say Ichigo, let's just say he goes to Wakamundo, right? Ichigo goes to Wakamundo, goes back to Las Noches. He sees, which was supposed to be like Grimjow and Hollybell and Nels and everybody who's still alive, just their new domain. But there he sees Aizen instead talking with him. And he pulls out his blade. He's like, yo, hold on, chief. Like, Aizen's here. He's like, yo, Ichigo, relax. Take it easy, man. Have some tea. You feel me? So in the same way that Kyoraku reached out to Aizen, I do wonder if now Ichigo will also extend a hand, and or Aizen extends a hand. Where he's like, yo, you gotta understand the threat that we're going up against. And, you know, I'm always gonna do me. But hey, we were a pretty good tag team against Juha. You know what I'm saying? We were a pretty good tag team. So like, what do you say? Let's reform the tag team of legend. You and me, for old time's sake. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to see that, you know, all jokes aside, just to see the two characters and what they would do together. But also, just to see how the other individuals, the other captains, the other characters in the world living, how all of them would react to Aizen potentially joining their side. I mean, they would have no choice. In the same way of taking on Juha, they would really have no choice. I mean, these are captains that were already strong. You're telling me they're even further beyond now. And the Espada, like these are massive threats. So we're going to need all the help we can possibly get. So, hey, Aizen comes in extending a hand. They better give them at a max contract because he's without question, besides Ichigo. It's like Ichigo and Aizen, Kenpachi, you know, like the war potentials that Juha was talking about. And like all of them, Kisuke, they're all extremely, extremely valuable players in what's about to go down here. All in terms of knowledge, in terms of what they could do in combat, and what they can do just by leveling the playing field in terms of soldiers and in terms of morale and stuff like that, right? Because it's going to get pretty hefty here soon. And it just, I can't stop thinking about what Aizen's potentially going to do. We know what he was doing with the Soul King for all these years. Wanted to create the Oaken in order to go out and kill the Soul King and take the place and maintaining balance, like all these different things that Aizen has always talked about in passing and or has brought up. Now that he's freed to do whatever he pleases, what is he going to do? But I strongly believe that everything that he's doing, especially with the way that Aizen is going to be in direct retaliation and or, you know, being proactive and wanting to make movements. Like, he probably already started his movements. Let's just say that he already is in the Royal Palace, setting things up. Or if he's not in the Royal Palace, if he's in Wakamundo, setting things up. Or whatever it is. Aizen's out here doing his thing. And whatever it is that he's working on now, or whatever he's working towards, whatever this new goal is, in the same way that Hogaku was his original goal back then, whatever his new goal is now, Aizen's going to be working at it 110%, day and night, ensuring that that thing goes as planned. Because that's just the way that Aizen is. It's gotta go as planned. And so because of that, I really wanted to sit here today and talk about the potential of what Aizen's going to do in this final arc. There's a lot of stuff out in the open, but I guess that covers like the surface level of things that he can do potentially in terms of just, basic surface. This is the stuff we could potentially see within the next couple chapters in regards to Aizen and what he can do. And then, of course, once we actually end up going down there, then we're going to see what Aizen's truly going to do in terms of from a combat standpoint, from whatever else he's going to end up doing. Then we'll see him, because there's no way you just slip that line in there and not have him doing something extremely important. So I do wonder what Kubo's going to do with Aizen, but I just really had to get this off my chest, man, because even though we talked about this in the reaction, just the simple fact that Aizen has now disappeared, and it's because of his disappearance, because Juha's disappearance was first, now Aizen's disappearance is leading into the fact that this is all happening. Aizen has something. He's doing something. Something either in retaliation or something proactive for the betterment of keeping this world going. Because that's just the type of dude that he is. Right? All according to his agenda. All according to his plan. But he's doing it in his own way. And that's why I cannot wait for the next time we see Aizen, bro. And the next time we see him, we better be on some sort of throne or chair or seat. It don't matter. As long as he's sitting on something. He could be sitting on anything. And I'll take it. That's just, it's Aizen. But yeah, man, super excited. I know we've talked about the potential and the possibilities of his Bankai and possibly seeing Kyokasugetsu's Bankai for the first time. Now, Kyokasugetsu is the most broken Shikai of all time. So if his Bankai is even more broken, this man's going to have to create something crazy, right? Just absolutely insane to give him his Bankai. So I don't know if we'll ever see that Bankai, but if we're ever going to see it, now's the time. Against other individuals that are clearly going to come in being extremely powerful. Could you imagine a potential matchup between Aizen and Old Man Yamamoto? Or Aizen and the Warden? And Aizen says, Bankai? Get out of here. What? Get out of here. That would, the hype levels would be way, way too high. And then just a conversation with his old partners, man. I know we talked in the reaction about Rangiku and Gin talking, and Sage brought up a very good point about Gin being so awesome and so based that it don't matter what kind of control they have on him, he's gonna do his own thing, because that's just how Gin works. So it would be really nice to have a conversation between Gin and Aizen, because granted, Aizen and Tosin had a relationship too, but their relationship wasn't as complex and as close, at least from the way that I looked at things, as Aizen and Gin's relationship. So I really want them to have a conversation between the two, just seeing how they would interact and seeing if they would team up one more time. How awesome would that be? We see Kamishini no Yari come up in like swimwear, and then Aizen releasing Kyokasugetsu, and they're both back to back fighting off against a whole bunch of stuff. That would be awesome. That would be awesome, man. So a lot of potential, a lot of different things that could happen from, the stuff he could potentially go up and reach out to, doing Aizen things, reaching out to Kazui. Be like, yo, Kazui, come with me, man. I can help you out, whatever. Or Ichika or Ichigo. It don't matter. He's going to do his thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he moves, because we know how this man is. And it's going to be interesting on seeing what Kubo ends up doing with Aizen, because where there's Kubo, there's Aizen. And that's what makes this series so much fun to read and to see how it unfolds for characters like this, for characters that you really can't predict what they're going to do. Characters like Aizen and Kisuke and Mayuri and Askin and all these dudes. So yeah, man, y'all have an awesome sauce of a day. Let me know what y'all think about Aizen and his potential role in the Bleach sequel, and anything in regards to his character or things you would like to see for his character here in the final section of Bleach, because there's a lot of stuff he can do, man. And we know how much he loves Aizen. We know how he knows how much we love Aizen. So If that picture there that he posted for Aizen and Loki, you know, for the Marvel collaboration, is an indication that a man loves Aizen, and you already know, man. You already know. So greatness is incoming. I look forward to seeing you in the comment section. Bleach is back. It's so good to be talking about new material again. Let's go, man. Let's go. Bleach is back, baby.